Well, how are you? I haven't seen you. I mean, it's been a real long time.
It has been. I'm good. I've been all over the East Coast, and by all over the East Coast, I mean I've been to New York and back. It feels like all over the East Coast though.
Yeah.
And I am back in Greensboro.
Okay, nice.
And enjoying it. I work for a company where I'm a graphic designer, and I'm really, really loving it there. So
That's awesome.
yeah, no, I'm good. I
Good.
feel like an adult. So
Yeah, look at you. I mean, me too. I still feel like I'm 17. Like when I wake up, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, oh no, I'm like grown. Like this is real life. Like I'm grown now. Okay.
I could
Cool.
bet. All of my coworkers are, the youngest one next to me is 6 years older than me. And it just kind of goes up exponentially from there.
Yeah.
And somehow they've invited me. I'm like in some of their like little friend groups, and I'm like, sometimes I talk and I'm like, I'm too young for this.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay, yeah. I'm
And,
36,
like,
so yeah.
The 32-year-old, we get along great. Like,
Yeah.
but like sometimes like as we get older, there's like some like tendencies, like some things will be said and I'm like,
What?
no.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I totally get it. That's really cool. I went to college in Greensboro, actually.
Where'd you go?
I went to Greensboro College.
I went to Greensboro College. There's
Yeah.
like 5 in Greensboro, so
Yes.
you have to ask which one.
True story. True.
Because I went to UNCG.
Okay, nice. Yeah. My
And
best friend's there. Yeah.
the heat bus was shared with all of the colleges in the area.
Yep.
So it's like to go to Target, it was like a 40-minute ride because you have to also go to A&T and then Greensboro College and then Guilford College. And like it was just like down the line.
Man, I remember Friendly Center. Man, different world, like literally a different lifetime for me.
Yeah, I totally get between when I lived in Greensboro before and I do now, it's like completely different. Because I was a college student before. I like walked everywhere and like was broke.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Broke. And now I'm like, now I have a 9 to 5 that like pays me what I deserve. And like,
yes,
it's wild.
Yes. Yes. I know it stops being cute after a while to like need money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And I'm obviously very fortunate and have been.
You're in Oregon now, right?
I am. Yeah, I am.
My mom won't let me go to Oregon. She's worried I won't come back.
I know. That's yeah, I think I'm gonna stay for a bit. Yeah. It takes a while to like get used to a place anyway. Like it just takes a minute. And then like with the pandemic and things like that, the only thing that like the biggest drawback is there's not a lot of diversity, I guess. And that's the one thing where I'm like, whoa, like when I got here, I was like, man, everybody's white.
Yeah, that great white north, man.
Yeah, like I was like, man, that's it. And it's, I don't know, it's like kind of like it freaks me out to like, because I mentioned it to someone and they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, you don't, oh no.
Do you not notice?
Yeah, I was like, oh no, that's scary. Like that, but like that's the fear of like living here. But other than that, like everything's great. And
yeah,
there are diversity in like small pockets, but it's very, very, it is not nearly on any sort of scale as anywhere else I've lived. Not even Durham. Like it's very waspy out here.
Fortunate.
Yeah. Yeah, this is so past the tiny mic. I really like doing them. I don't know if you watched Haven's or Max's, but basically, I have some questions and like, obviously like because I talked to Haven, like I shared with her or shared with them some of my experiences. And I was telling them like kind of like some of the ideas that I had about different topics. And Haven was like, I think Mara would be really good for this topic. And so thank you for coming on and doing this. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. So let me see here. Let me, how should we start? Obviously I edit and
Yeah,
clean it up and all
I
that good
figured.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's first define, I did a little bit of research. Obviously, I have like over the past, honestly, I saw a post probably a few months ago, and it said fat phobia, and I was like, huh. And like it intrigued me, right? And so I tapped the little thing and like I followed it and I read about it and I was like, whoa, like all of it, like really, it rang true for me. Like it just like I recognized it. Like I was like, oh my God. And I didn't really have awareness of it, I guess, in the same way until then. And so I guess social media is good for some things. But it brought this like new term, I guess, into my life, and it brought a new way of thinking about how I've been thinking about things, if that makes sense. So let's first define what fat phobia is, and I will let you take the mic.
Sure. So fat phobia, which is something everyone, I can almost guarantee everyone in their life has dealt with with whether or not they know that they've dealt with it. Fat phobia is being absolutely horrified of being fat, just plain and simple. Everyone believes that the key to success is thinness, that people are going to see you first and they're going to see that you're fat and they're going to think less of you. Like there's this whole stigma around being fat that makes you ugly, that makes you unintelligent, that makes you comical. If you think about growing up, the movies we watched, all of the fat people in them were made fun of. They were a joke. And that's what stemmed a lot of it, is that we were scared to be fat because we didn't want to be the joke. And that we have always felt like if we're fat, we're not going to be loved. And that is so far from true. That your biggest goal in life was to be thin because thin leads to success, which is not true. So there's just this whole stigma around being fat that it's the worst thing that you could possibly be, that could possibly happen. People spend thousands of dollars to make sure that they're not fat. Fat phobia causes so many negative problems. So that's a little bit about what fat phobia is.
I think, it's very appearance focused, which, you know, as women, that is a problem in and of itself. And you're right, like it's multi like layered, and it truly touches, I think, all of us. I know, and you mentioned, you know, not feeling loved, like you don't want to be fat because you know, nobody will like you, right? And I guess I was really fat when I was growing up. Like I got picked on pretty hard, both at home and at school. And it certainly has affected me, like for sure. I have super, like, I think I have body dysmorphia. And I think that because people have told me that, but more specifically, like somebody was like, I think you have body dysmorphia. And I was like, wait, what? And I like read about it and I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Okay. And so all of this stuff is kind of coming together for me. And you're right. Like I did make it this major focus in I think I'd just gotten into double digits as, you know, as a little girl, and just, you become really aware anyway. Like obviously I was much younger than that when I became aware that I was fat, and I got picked on in grade school, and then of course in middle school. And then I decided that I didn't want to be picked on anymore. And so I did something about it, but I did it all the wrong ways.
Sure.
Like most children do. And I'm curious what has been your experience, I guess, in growing up, and when did you kind of become aware that it's something people want to push away for themselves and for those around them?
Middle school. Everyone's favorite time of their life, when you become aware of who you're becoming, and your body starts changing, and you're like, man, I have a crush on that girl, and I thought I liked boys, and like, you know, like all of this stuff starts changing about you. And that's when I really started to notice. And what also developed with that, so when you grow up fat, you usually are also curvy before all of the other girls. So not only was I fat in middle school and I was targeted by students to be made fun of, I was also targeted by teachers because clothes were fitting me much differently than my I want to say coworkers, my fellow students. I got called out for all the time because like my jeans were too tight, or even though you know, Sally was wearing the same length skirt, I was the one that got in trouble for it because I filled it out more, you know. And from a very young age, I was being sexualized because I was fat, because I had curves. And I remember I was on a swim team. And I came home, and my mom, she was like, oh, and I was like, what? She's like, you're developing a waist, like an hourglass shape. And this was just before middle school, and I was already developing a more feminine body than so many of my friends had. And then, you know, on the flip side, and my mom has always been very supportive. I've like about who I am and what I'm like. I just want to preface this whole thing with that. Of course. On the flip side, I used to do all of these like super fun, nerdy arts and crafts games. And at one point I went to one and I was wearing a Mario shirt. I was making arts and crafts better than everyone else. And, you know, now I'm a graphic designer. So like, makes sense. And one guy looked at the stuff I was doing and looked at me. He's like, well, you're just a fat nerd. And then he got up and walked away. And that has stuck with me for years. And like, I like looked him in the face. I was like, what's wrong with you? Like, and just like moments like that are just firing. It's like people see you and that's the first thing that they want to say to you. If you're doing something better, if you look different, they're just like, well, you're fat. So like, that's the worst possible thing that could happen. So I started noticing it in middle school because of these things that were happening to me. And it just got worse in high school, you know, with spaghetti straps and different clothes. And I was always called out for wearing something. And I joined marching band of all things. And I was a brass player, so I was the only girl in my section. And it was, I got teased because it was like all of these tall, thin, straight dudes, and then this little curvy girl marching around with a mellophone. So I got teased about that. And I think I didn't start embracing my fatness until college. So between middle school and probably about junior year of college, I hated myself. I hated how I looked. I hated how I felt. And it wasn't necessarily because of me internally. It was all external. The comments people made, the comments teachers made. And even now, there are some people in my life that are so hyper focused on weight loss and the way that they look that I'm just like, you got to stop talking about it. Because it's hurting you more than you realize. To only think about weight loss, to only think about how you look. That's not everything that exists. No,
and it's not everything that exists in as far as a human being. Like we're more than what we look like. And I think it's so interesting because I took all of the teasing and I don't even know. I mean, it wasn't teasing. Like I was never going to be like girly, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't know why. Like, I think I just kind of came that way, like where I was just like,
Sure.
I want to play with whatever my brother's doing, like, you know, like whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I still love like my baby dolls and all that good stuff, but like,
Mhm.
I think I really internalized it. And even now, my family especially will be like, how many hoodies do you own? Because I'm constantly hiding my body. And I think it's like, I haven't learned how to embrace that maybe I'm not what, um, society says we're supposed to be, right? Because we go to the movies
Absolutely.
and all of our, you know, female heroes or female leads in movies are these beautiful, picture perfect, like
Right.
human beings, right? And that's
Mhm.
anyone who is not in that cookie cutter
Mhm.
is not the main character. They're comic relief, or you know, the mom or something like that, like the stepsister, whatever. Like, and so you don't have any representation. And I think that as human beings, we have this major desire to like want to fit in.
Mhm.
And if you don't see what you look like anywhere, then what are you going to do, right?
Exactly. That's been a big kind of awakening for me lately. Like watching movies with friends and Jessie and them talking about like, oh, I had a big crush on her growing up. And it affects me because it's, you know, it's never someone that looks like me. And
Right.
and it's like, and that sucks.
Yeah,
Like,
I know that.
because it's just like, um, you know, if everyone only loved thin, beautiful people their whole lives, like, what does that
Right.
make me? Where do I stand in the world? And
Mm-hmm.
so I've been trying to find plus size icons that I really admire and that are gorgeous, and they handle themselves beautifully,
Mm-hmm.
and they embrace who they are. They embrace their fatness, like Retta. I don't know if you know who Retta is. If you watch Parks and Rec, she's Donna.
Okay, yeah.
She's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
she's all about who she is. Lizzo is
Absolutely.
another great advocate for fat people. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, here we go, like, it stems from colonialism, that
Mm-hmm.
fatness is anti-Black. And we have all of these beautiful Black women that are starting to come out, and they're like, I'm fat and that's beautiful, and like, you guys can go suck it. And they're
Mm-hmm.
right. And I have
Yeah.
been led by all of these really strong Black women recently to embrace who I am.
Yeah.
And that's something I'll never be able to repay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I've also been watching, there's a show called Shrill, where the main character, do you love that show?
Love that show. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
There's the main character is
Mm-hmm.
fat, and within the first 20 seconds of the first episode, I was like, oh God, this is too close to home. Like, just the way that she handles her morning and her afternoon, and like how she handles being fat and how that goes throughout her day, and the way, a guy touches her and calls her beautiful, and she's like, thank you, but no, I know I'm not. You don't have to pity me.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
Jesse has never given me, Jesse's my boyfriend, Jesse has never given me any reason for me to think that he thinks I'm unattractive. But
Right.
for some reason, those voices in my head, I have issues believing him. And again, it's all of those external sources that I grew up with that hammered into my brain that fat is bad.
Absolutely. I don't know how to take a compliment. It's so hard for me. I was dating someone a little while ago, and and she was really great, and she was always like, no, seriously, like, I'm attracted to you. And I'd be like,
Yeah.
no, like, even now, and I'm like grown, like, obviously, like, I'm like, oh, thank you. But like, inside, like, my internal dialogue is like, oh, like,
you're wrong.
Yeah, no, like, and it's so hard to undo that. It's so hard to like, to just look at yourself, like, not you, but like all of us, like me,
Right.
like, for me to look at myself and to think, I love you, like, you are beautiful. And And I like what you said about colonialism, because yes, and I found it fascinating, like just in doing some research, and there's this book, I can't remember what it's called, and I don't know which stack of books it's in, but it's I'm gonna think of it. I've got to figure it out, but essentially it talks about how Black women, and it talks about how the standard of beauty was obviously based off of some man somewhere,
of course,
who said something, right? You know, and then how skin color, of course, was a like would tell people, what their class was. And then it became about being heavy or being thin to determine your class. And it's mind-boggling. Like, all of these things are so just generationally instilled in us at this point. And it's so hard to undo it and to become aware of it in yourself, to make real change, like lasting change.
Yeah. And I think the first step to that is to remove the negative connotation of the word fat. And I think you and I have both been doing that really well, because you're fat, that doesn't mean it's bad. Right. I've embraced my fatness. I am the heaviest I've ever been. Not that numbers matter, but I'm the most confident I've ever been, because I've started embracing who I am. And it's okay to love yourself. I wish people understood that it is okay to love yourself. Take the compliment. Like, let people tell you you're beautiful. Believe them. It's so important, and it'll help you so much if you start letting people compliment you.
And I think too, yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of that. Yes. Like, you're inspiring me right now, just in saying that to me. Like, I'm like, yes, I want the next person to like give me a compliment so I can practice accepting it.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah. 2 words,
right.
Be awkward. You just say thank you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think there's this like, sometimes I have a hard time finding exactly what I want to say, because I don't want to say it the wrong way. But taking back the word, like the taking back your fatness, like that's such a, like, even just me saying the word fat, like I've had to like work on that in saying it, because it was such a soft spot, like a sore spot for me, because I was called bad names. Like I was called, my brother called me Shamu, and he would do it in front of other people at school. Like, and I know, kids are just the worst, like I love my brother. We're cool.
Yeah.
But like, then other kids would call me, like, use the word fat, but in like a
negative way.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And it's so hard to just say the word.
Well, right. And what other words are like that? Vagina, period, menstruating. They all have that same negative connotation, where it's like, if you say the word vagina to somebody, they're like, whoa. And you're like, what? Like, it's a body part. It's no different than, a breast or a penis or balls, these words that we like throw around. Yeah. But for some reason, they just have these hidden negative connotations, fat being one of the really strong ones, because people try to use it so negatively. And it's just so frustrating. Like, right. And so I, some of my work friends, at one point, one of them used a GIF of a guy clapping at a computer. And she was like, fat person at a computer, it felt, good for like a good representation of me. And I was like, you stop that. And I was like, I will bring out my body positivity guns. And and one of my other coworkers was like, please do bring them out. And so I just like laid into like how, fat is beautiful. You don't have to be skinny to be beautiful. You have to embrace who you are. Like, and it's just like, don't use like fat as like, because the way that she said it, it was just, you could tell there was some sort of negative connotation behind it.
Yeah. And I think that there's so much there for people, that there's this, even if it's subconscious, there's this driving belief that you're not worthy.
Right.
if you're not, if you don't meet a standard. And I was talking about this with a friend, and, how we tell little girls they're pretty. And it's like, we should be telling children, you're so lovable.
Yeah.
And we're instilling a sense of self-worth rather than a standard.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
that makes sense. But I think there's this, because I have it, like, I think I have this, like, where I feel, or I've worked really hard over the last decade, but there's this underlying thing of, like, you don't feel worthy to be loved if, right. and it's so deeply tied to how we look. And that's mind blowing to me. Like, when you really break it down and you get in there. And you said something about body positivity. Will you talk about that? Because I'm not fully up to, I don't know everything there is to know about body positivity. And some people say that it's bad. Some people say that it's good. Like, talk to me about body positivity.
Body positivity is a beautiful thing. So body positivity is the ability to look in a mirror and not focus on the things that you think are bad. I every now and then I start to really fall into my self-conscious, like, and that happens to everybody. You start doubting yourself and who you are and what you look like. I write all those little things down on paper and then I burn it.
Good for you. I like that.
That always helps. Like, and body positivity is so important to embracing fatness. When I shower in the morning, I look at myself in a full-length mirror, completely naked, and I tell myself things that are beautiful about my body so that I can learn to celebrate myself. Body positivity is all about celebration. And knowing that because you don't look like Scarlett Johansson, right? Gorgeous, lovely, wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're not unattractive too.
Right.
Like, there are so many different types of flowers in this world and they're all beautiful, right? Like, you would learn to appreciate every single different flower. It's like people, like one of my very good friends is a bit on the chunky side, amazing person, so handsome, but he's so caught up in the fact that maybe he's a little bit heavier that again, he doesn't think he deserves to be loved. So I've been helping him try to find clothing that makes him feel like he's expressing who he wants to be, and making him feel confident. Like, maybe you don't feel confident in your body, and that's okay. Then you need to start dressing yourself in a way that you feel confident. You were talking about your hoodies because you're hiding your body. You might see a shirt that you like and you feel like you can't pull it off. Buy it anyway. You probably look incredible, but it's that body dysmorphia that's like getting in your brain and fogging your vision. Body positivity is the ability to look at yourself, celebrate yourself, wear the things that you want to wear. And for the love of God, don't buy clothes that are too small and tell yourself you're going to fit in them someday.
Well, I mean, that's a whole separate point I want to make. I feel like body positivity, like, I love this. It feels like pride, but for people's bodies.
Exactly. That's like, exactly what it is.
And I love that. Like, I think that's beautiful. And what you just said about, please don't buy clothes that are too small and tell yourself you're going to fit into them.
That's not celebrating your body. No. That's not body positivity. That's looking at yourself in the mirror and going, nope, we got to change this. This isn't good. Right. Your body is always good. Celebrate yourself, the cellulite on your legs. Your legs keep you standing. You can walk, you can run, you can do all of these things. The fact that you have a little bit of cellulite does nothing to who you are as a person.
Yeah. So true. Like, I'm probably healthier than I've ever been. And I've gained weight since I moved here, and I can see the cellulite on my legs, but they're like, I'm like, damn, my legs are so strong because it's hilly here or whatever. Like, it's so, and it is hard, but it's been good to find those different ways of viewing just myself. And I think the danger in trying to reach a goal or trying to, buy pants that are a size smaller and be like, oh, I'll fit into those soon. Like that just sets you up because you're always chasing something.
Exactly.
And you never have a sense of acceptance. And when you're always chasing something, nothing is going to be enough. You're always going to have this like hole, or this unhealthy like drive to be different.
Right.
And I see it in all of us. And I don't know how to undo that besides awareness and effort.
Well, yeah. And I love, like I mentioned the friend that I like clothes shopping with, and helping him find clothes, because that's the first step. Like, clean out your closet of all of that garbage, find clothes that make you feel happy. The moment that I help someone find clothes that they love, and they put them on, the look on their face and the way they act is completely different. And it's incredible. Clothing is such a powerful tool, both positive and negative. Negative being trying to use it as a milestone, positive as you lose any sense of, there's a specific word for it. I'm going to look it up.
No, I'm going to look up this book because it's still in my brain and it's driving me crazy. So we're mini break to find these books that are these things.
Oh, no, it's not Fear of God. It's a clothing brand. No.
All right. This is going to drive me insane.
Yeah, no, I can't find what it's called. So we're gonna make up a phrase for it.
Okay, fair enough.
And I'm sure someone will be like, it's this, and I'll be like, you're right.
I know, right? Like once we get off here, I'm gonna find this book.
Okay.
Drive me crazy.
So a big part of, so I was saying, you put clothes on that you love and they make you feel good, and it's like a light switch flips. And what you don't want to do is look at the label size or be afraid of the label size. Because you're a 2XL, that's not a bad thing. You're just a 2XL.
Right. Sizing
was created, all of these vanity sizes were created to make people thinner, to make people want to try and be thinner. Like 000 exists.
Yeah.
There is no reason 000 should exist.
No.
There are thin people out there that wear a 000. Lovely, beautiful, but that doesn't mean it should be called a 000, because that is a tool that was created to make you feel awful. Not only are you a zero, that would, zero, like you're gonna blow away in the wind, you're a 000. You should be shooting for that level of thinness, and that's not okay. I have this issue as well with clothing. I could go on and on about clothing sizes.
I love it.
I have this issue as well where it stops at 12 and suddenly you're in plus size.
Right.
That drives me absolutely bonkers, where, you've got juniors, you have misses, you have women's, and then you have plus size. So remember, once you're past a certain size, you're not a person anymore. You're not a gender anymore. You're defined by your shape. That drives me absolutely bonkers. And these are the little tiny things that we don't think about,
Yeah. I mean, also, like, even just in dining or traveling, like public transit. I was getting on a plane a couple months ago, And this man, and I wish I had responded differently. I was obviously polite, but I wish I'd spoken up in retrospect. Like even after I sat down, I was like, man, I really, really wish I'd said something different. Yeah. But basically whenever he saw that I was going to be sitting next to him, he was like, oh, thank God, a thin person. And I was just like, yeah. Like it was just kind of like odd and like awkward. And I think he was like, what I took it as was he was like trying to make fun of, or like make light that he was larger than me. Right. Sure. And he was like my dad's age. Like, of course you're going to be bigger than me, sir. You're a man, like you're a grown man, you're dad's size. But, like it just was like this weird, uncomfortable thing. And I was thinking about it, and like, I started kind of looking around the plane, and obviously, like, I'm sure we've all noticed these things before, but the reality is things are not built for regular size people. Right. And that really sucks. Like, that's really not fair. Like things are just not built. Like even like I was sitting in the seat and I was like, there is no room. Like there's no...
Like the seats, I'll go into a little boutique cafe and I'm like, yes, coffee and scones, thank you. And this new modern seating that's like this bucket seat. Yeah. I don't fit in those. Like I fit, but not comfortably, not long enough that I actually want to stay and enjoy this cafe. I'm like, I'm going to get this to go. Right. Because you've made it impossible for me as an average sized person to not be able to sit down. And that, like, the ones that are the worst are the ones that aren't even the plastic, they're the bars, because then you have the bars individually digging into your hips and you're like, this is not comfortable. No. And it's not comfortable for a lot of people. Right. And even, to that matter, back to clothing, like in women's sizes, I'm a large in my torso and a 2 to 3XL in my arms, because women's arms are expected to be teeny tiny. Right. And I've never had small arms. In college, I was a power lifter and I was like all muscle. That's all dissolved into fat now. And I still have the size, but I don't have the muscle anymore. And I still I can't. But even when I was working out and I was trying to be thin because I thought that's what was the most important thing, I could not fit into women's jackets. And I'm always swallowed in fabric because nothing fits my upper body correctly. Yeah. I mean, I have the same problem, and it's because I'm not busty. And so, but like, I'm still, I guess I'm kind of tall, not really. I'm pretty average in general, but you're right. Like my arms are bigger, and I don't, I don't like female shirts. Like I always buy boy shirts for the most part because they just sit on my body better. Yeah. Yeah. Because and I feel like you can move in them. Exactly. Yeah. I got rid of all my jackets because like a lot of my feminine jackets, because I'd get in my car and I go to drive and I'm like pulling my arm up onto the steering wheel. Can't move. Yeah. And it's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable, and you become so hyper. It's just a cycle. It's perpetuation of the same thing. You feel so uncomfortable with what you're wearing because you can't move, that you become hyper focused or hyper aware of your physical appearance and like your physical body. And that's not all we are. There is obviously a place and a time where we need to be aware of our physical bodies, but it shouldn't be this driving force. And I find it's just so painful to even watch people seeking to stay young and beautiful for so long. Yeah. And that's really hard. Like it's hard. Like aging has hit me hard, like, because I can see it in my face. Like it's starting to happen. Your skin does lose elasticity. And you wake up one day and you start to notice like it's going to happen if you live long enough. Like it's going to happen, and it's really hard. And, I was talking to someone about it, and I was like, it's
it's hard because I'm programmed to think that a woman's value is in her youth and beauty. And that's, and I'm losing those things. Like, so you get into this like weird place where your brain, like your intellectual brain is like, fuck that. Like, no.
Yeah.
But you know, the subconscious, or like the part of your brain that's like running the show is like, no, 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 no. What do we do? Where's the cream? Where's the, you know, how do we fix this? You know? And it's just such a hard thing. And I just want to see, us as a society making small changes to undo that a little bit more every generation.
You know, people like Meryl Streep, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's an incredible person,
yeah.
and she has aged so gracefully and so beautifully, and she's embraced who she is at her age.
Yeah.
And you just have to remember that aging comes naturally. It's something we're all gonna do. You can't escape it. So you can either try to prevent it and usually do things to your body that make it worse, or you can embrace it and know that it's going to happen and wear sunscreen. Like,
oh yeah. Preach,
that's the best thing you can do for yourself is to wear sunscreen. But you know, when people talk about the worries of aging, like I always think about Meryl Streep, because even when she was young, they told her she would never make it in movies because she was too ugly.
Good for her. I did not know that.
Yeah. And I think that's so incredible that she was like, no, fuck that. Like, I'm not going to deal with that. And here she is today, like as beautiful as ever, because she's taken all of that into stride and she's aged so gracefully.
I mean, it's such a hard, I love that you brought up Meryl Streep, because so in like acting jobs that I've had in my past, like in my 20s, like I have scars on my face, and that was really hard because people say something, like people are like, these are hard to cover. And it's like, it discourages you. And I'm not the only girl out here. I'm not the only human being, because it doesn't matter, that's being discouraged from doing something that they want to do because of what they look like.
Right.
And it's not just that you're becoming discouraged, it's that you're learning beliefs about yourself, that you aren't worthy to do the things that you want to do.
Right.
And I see it, you know, all the time, even with guys who don't want to go to pool parties or whatever, because they don't want to have to take their shirt off.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, it's just so heartbreaking that we all just quietly still accept it so often.
What you have to remember is that your body is your body. You know, and that's all there is to it. You know, everyone says your body is a temple, and that's true. It's your temple. You should be giving your body the things that it needs to keep you healthy and strong.
Yes.
And you should accept your body for who it is, because it is working very hard to keep you alive. And it's doing a great job most of the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, like there's this great movement this year where if you wanted to have a beach body, just put your body at the beach. And I think that's really beautiful, you know, because people are out here accepting their roles and their curves and their cellulite and all of the things that we're told that are bad. And people are like, everyone has this. Everyone has roles and cellulite and fat. It's just who we are. And I think I'm beautiful. If you don't think that I'm beautiful, then that's your problem. And that's how you should see your body. You know, as much as you try to hide it, it's always going to be there. So you should learn to celebrate it instead. You'll be much happier.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important, like what you said, to normalize the truth.
Yeah.
That normalize the truth. Like, I mean, it's such a simple concept, but normalize the truth that, yes, we have cellulite. Yes, we, you know, when we sit down, like our stomachs look like whatever they look like. And then they look like, you know, like our bodies change as we change positions, as, you know, lighting changes or whatever. Like we're going to get older. If you continue to be alive, you are going to age. And so just normalizing the truth of human bodies, of being in a meat suit.
Yeah.
It's really, I don't know, it's really inspiring, and I think it's really important. And what do you wish you had known growing up? Well, I guess that's not really fair because we don't have the consciousness to like really understand things. But I guess, what do you wish people knew about fat phobia or body positivity? Like, what do you wish, like, people you just want them to know something? What would that be?
You know, it's not necessarily what I wish people would understand about other people. It's more that I wish people would understand themselves and accept themselves, because self-acceptance is what leads to the acceptance of others. So if you're a fat girl and you're making fun of other fat girls because you're uncomfortable about being fat, that's all stemming from you. That's all coming internally. So if you love yourself and you accept yourself, you're going to start spreading that love and acceptance to others.
Yes, that is such a beautiful button, and it's just perfect. I love that. It's so true. It's so true, because any judgment we really, like, any of our judgments we cast on others, they're coming from inside of us.
Right.
They're internal projections. And I just love that point of, it's not focusing on accepting the world around us. It's accepting the world within us and who we actually are and what we actually look like.
Yeah. And compliment people.
Right.
You know, like, just compliment people. You don't know that person walking towards you on the street, but they look incredible. Let them know. And you'll make someone's day, because then that helps them feel better about themselves. They're like, this random stranger thought I look good enough for them to say something about it. Like, absolutely. And walking downtown, I'm known for that, and Jesse gets annoyed by it, but you know, I'll walk by someone taking a selfie and I'm like, yes, do it. Like,
absolutely.
Because other people, you need to hype up yourself, and other people need to be hyped up too. But of course, it all starts with you. You have to be the change.
Yeah, you do. You really, really do. I think this was really awesome conversation. Good. This was good. This was like healing for me too, because it's so good. It's so nice to like, to I guess to share too, like the, you know, because my journey, you know, I became pretty aware at a young age, and I did all sorts of bad things to my body to avoid being fat. And I don't want to see that continue to happen to girls, even though, you know, like, it's just, it's a hard life. And
it goes both ways. Fat's beautiful, thin's beautiful.
Exactly.
You need to tell someone to gain weight. That's rude. That's just
absolutely. It's so rude.
Lose weight. It needs to go both ways. It has to go both ways.
Absolutely. I agree. 1000%. I think, thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah.
I have this internal fear that I made an ass of myself. So hopefully I'm glad.
No, not at all. I'll send it to you before I post it, but I try to make everybody, I want to make everybody happy. I want you to feel good about what it is, because I want to see you guys sharing it and sharing what your message is. I mean, that's the point. Like, I want your message to be the one that's heard. And I think it's a beautiful message, and I think it's an important one. And I think it's cool. Like, it's cool to talk to somebody young and hip, and I mean, like, perception wise, you know, like my, cause I have nieces your age, and they're going to be like, whoa, this was, you know, and so like, that's really cool. Like, I'm into it. And, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you. And I will, I usually give it like a week before I post it, but I might work on it this weekend and I'll send it to you, and you can, but I usually give it like a week.
Cool. No rush.
Any final thoughts or anything like that? Oh, I moved this because I was just in chat mode.
I don't think so.
Okay.
You know, we talked a lot about women, but it extends to all genders, you know.
It really does.
I know I have queer friends that are concerned about the way they look because they want to give their appearance of their gender.
Right.
And I understand that you want to look the way that you want to look, and with standards that's really hard.
Yes.
The standards that we have. So I just want to put a point that it doesn't just extend to women, it extends to everybody. We all struggle with the way we look.
Yeah.
And acceptance is key.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, absolutely. To all of that. Fuck yes. Okay. Fuck yes. This was awesome. I'm so grateful. Thank you so